The decision you make today will determine the story they tell about you tomorrow. Right now, at this very moment, you stand at the crossroads of destiny. Your life is waiting to unfold according to the direction of your mind. The power is not in your circumstances, but in how you choose to direct your thoughts. Listen to me carefully. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your thinking. Many people are living beneath their potential, trapped by undisciplined minds that hold them captive more effectively than any prison of steel and concrete. I declare to you today that mental freedom precedes all other freedoms. Your mind is the most powerful resource you possess. It's more valuable than gold, more precious than diamonds, more potent than any physical strength. Yet how many of us have left this extraordinary gift undeveloped, undisciplined, and underutilized? The difference between mediocrity and greatness is not talent, but the discipline of mind. I want to speak directly to you about why disciplining your mind is not optional but essential for anyone who desires to fulfill their purpose. When you finish hearing this message, you will understand that the battleground for success is not in the external world, but in the territory of your thoughts. Your mind contains infinite potential. Within you exists the capacity to solve problems that have never been solved, to create works that have never been created, to build what has never been built. This is not wishful thinking. This is the reality of your design. The human mind processes thousands of thoughts daily. Each thought is a seed with the potential to grow into something magnificent or destructive. The difference lies in which thoughts you choose to water, which ones you nurture, and which ones you eliminate. Consider this: everything created by humans began as a thought. Every building, every book, every business, every breakthrough started in someone's mind before it materialized in the physical world. The phone in your pocket, the chair you're sitting on, the vehicle that brought you here, all began as thoughts. Nothing exists that wasn't first conceived in the mind. This reveals a profound truth. The mind is where creation begins. If you don't discipline your mind, you limit your creative potential. An undisciplined mind produces undisciplined results. A disciplined mind can change not only your life, but potentially the course of history. Do you understand the significance of this? The difference between the person who makes history and the one who merely observes it often comes down to mental discipline. History makers understand that they must first conquer the territory of their thoughts before they can conquer anything else. Your mind is like fertile soil. It doesn't discriminate between good seeds and bad seeds. It will grow whatever you plant in it. Plant discipline and you harvest achievement. Plant excuses and you harvest mediocrity. The choice of what to plant is yours and yours alone. Let me tell you what an undisciplined mind costs you. It's not just missed opportunities or unfulfilled potential, though these are significant losses. The true cost runs much deeper. An undisciplined mind lives in reaction mode. It responds to whatever stimulus appears, jumping from thought to thought like a leaf blown by the wind. This reactionary existence prevents you from directing your life's course. Instead of charting your own path, you merely respond to the paths others have created. Have you ever noticed how exhausted you feel after a day of worry? You haven't done any physical work, yet you're completely drained. That's the cost of mental indiscipline. It robs you of the vital force needed to create, to serve, to make a difference. Moreover, an undisciplined mind makes poor decisions. When you cannot focus your thoughts, you cannot evaluate options effectively. Every choice becomes clouded by confusion, fear, or impulse, rather than clarity and purpose. And remember, your life today is the sum total of all your previous decisions. Perhaps most costly of all, an undisciplined mind disconnects you from your purpose. when your thoughts are constantly hijacked by distractions, negativity, and mindless consumption, you lose sight of why you're here. Years pass, and one day you wake up wondering where your life went and what you have to show for it. This is a tragedy I refuse to accept for any of you. The cost is too high. Your potential is too great. Your purpose is too important to be sacrificed on the altar of mental indiscipline. Mental discipline stands on 4 unshakable pillars. Master these and you will master your mind. The first pillar is awareness. You cannot change what you do not acknowledge. Mental discipline begins with becoming aware of your thought patterns. Most people never examine what goes on in their minds. They allow thoughts to come and go without scrutiny. But the disciplined mind practices awareness, observing thoughts without immediate judgment, recognizing patterns, and understanding the source of destructive thinking. Ask yourself, what thoughts dominate my mind? What narratives do I tell myself repeatedly? Are these thoughts aligned with my purpose and potential? This awareness is the foundation of all mental transformation. The second pillar is intention. Once aware, you must become intentional about your thinking. This means deliberately choosing what you will focus on. The undisciplined mind drifts aimlessly. The disciplined mind directs its attention with purpose. Intentionality means deciding in advance what deserves your mental energy and what does not. Every morning when you wake up, set your mental intention for the day. Decide what thoughts you will entertain and what thoughts you will reject. This is not positive thinking, it's powerful thinking. It's recognizing that you, not your circumstances, determine your mental state. The third pillar is repetition. Mental discipline is not achieved overnight. It requires consistent practice. The pathways in your mind become stronger with repetition. This is why disciplining your mind isn't a one-time event, but a lifelong practice. Champions are made in the daily disciplines that no one sees. The gold medalist doesn't become great on the day of competition. They become great in the thousands of practice sessions that preceded it. So it is with your mind. Mental excellence comes through daily discipline, not occasional effort. The fourth pillar is accountability. Your mind needs boundaries. It needs standards against which thoughts can be measured. Without accountability, mental discipline becomes impossible. You must establish clear criteria for what you will accept in your mental space and what you will reject. In a world designed to distract you, focused thought is your competitive advantage. The person who can direct their mind single-pointedly toward an objective possesses power that the distracted majority can never access. Your thoughts are not autonomous. They do not control you unless you surrender that control. Mental discipline operates on the principle of thought management, actively governing what enters your mind and what remains there. The first law of thought management is this: input determines output. What you consistently feed your mind shapes your thinking patterns. If you consume negativity, you will think negatively. If you consume mediocrity, you will think mediocrely. If you consume excellence, you will think excellently. Examine your mental diet. What are you reading? What are you watching? What conversations do you participate in? These inputs are not neutral. They are actively shaping your mental landscape. The disciplined mind is selective about its consumption. The second law of thought management is replacement. You cannot simply remove negative thoughts. You must replace them with positive ones. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you merely try to stop thinking certain thoughts without replacing them, the vacuum will quickly be filled again with similar thoughts. When a destructive thought enters your mind, immediately replace it with a constructive alternative. This is not denial, it's redirection. You acknowledge the negative thought, but refuse to give it residence in your mind. Instead, you deliberately focus on something that serves your purpose. The third law of thought management is persistence. Thought patterns developed over years do not change overnight. When you begin practicing mental discipline, you face resistance. Old thought patterns will fight to maintain their territory. This is normal and expected. Mental discipline requires persistence through this resistance. Each time you redirect a negative thought, you weaken its power. Each time you maintain focus despite distractions, you strengthen your mental muscles. This is not a battle won in a single engagement, but through consistent discipline over time. The fourth law of thought management is environment. You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. Their thinking patterns, consciously or unconsciously, influence yours. Mental discipline sometimes requires difficult decisions about your association. Seek relationships that elevate your thinking. Find people who challenge you to think bigger, to think better, to think beyond your current limitations. Distance yourself from those who pull your thoughts toward negativity, limitation, or distraction. These 4 laws, input determination, thought replacement, persistence, and environmental influence, form the foundation of effective thought management. Master them, and you master your mind. Mental resilience is perhaps the most valuable outcome of disciplining your mind. Resilience is the ability to maintain mental clarity and forward momentum despite adversity. It's not about avoiding difficulties, but about responding to them with disciplined thought. The undisciplined mind crumbles under pressure. When challenges arise, it spirals into worry, fear, and despair. The disciplined mind rises to meet challenges, maintaining perspective and focus even in difficult circumstances. Resilience begins with expectation. Expect challenges. Expect obstacles. Expect resistance. When difficulties arise, the resilient mind isn't surprised or dismayed, it's prepared. Mental discipline means preparing your mind for the inevitable challenges of meaningful pursuit. Challenges are not obstacles to your purpose. They are part of your purpose. They strengthen your mental resolve, clarify your priorities, and develop capacities within you that would otherwise remain dormant. The disciplined mind doesn't ask, why is this happening to me? But rather, what can I learn from this? Resilience requires perspective. The undisciplined mind magnifies problems until they consume all mental space. The disciplined mind maintains perspective, seeing challenges within the larger context of purpose and time. This perspective doesn't diminish the reality of difficulties, but prevents them from dominating your mental landscape. When facing challenges, ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? Will this matter in 5 weeks? Will this matter in 5 days? Most things that consume our mental energy fail this test. The disciplined mind allocates concern proportionate to long-term significance. Resilience also demands mental flexibility. The undisciplined mind becomes rigid, insisting on specific outcomes and particular pathways. The disciplined mind remains flexible, adapting to changing circumstances while maintaining focus on the ultimate objective. When one approach fails, the resilient mind quickly adjusts, seeking alternative pathways rather than abandoning the destination. This adaptability comes from mental discipline, the ability to control your thoughts rather than allowing circumstances to control them. Finally, resilience requires recovery rituals. Even the most disciplined mind faces moments of exhaustion and discouragement. Mental resilience isn't about never experiencing these moments. It's about having established practices that facilitate rapid recovery. Develop personal rituals that restore your mental energy and refocus your thoughts. Whether it's time in nature, meaningful conversation, reflective solitude, or artistic expression, find what renews your mental strength and make it a non-negotiable part of your routine. Through expectation, perspective, flexibility, and recovery, The disciplined mind develops resilience that can withstand any challenge. This resilience becomes your greatest asset in a world where most people are derailed by the first significant obstacle. Mental discipline manifests in daily habits. Your life moves in the direction of your most consistent thoughts, and your most consistent thoughts are shaped by your daily routines. To discipline your mind, you must establish habits that reinforce mental clarity, focus. The first hour of your day establishes the mental trajectory for the hours that follow. The undisciplined mind begins the day reactively, immediately engaging with messages, media, and the demands of others. The disciplined mind begins proactively, establishing mental priorities before external influences can take hold. Create a morning ritual that directs your mind toward what matters most. Before engaging with the world's agenda for your attention, clarify your own agenda. This might include reflection, planning, affirming your purpose, or preparing your mind for the day's challenges. Throughout the day, establish thinking intervals. The constant barrage of activity prevents most people from engaging in deep thought. Mental discipline requires regular intervals of focused thinking. Schedule specific times to step back from activity and engage in deliberate thought about your priorities, challenges, and opportunities. These intervals need not be lengthy. Even 5 minutes of concentrated thinking can provide clarity that hours of scattered activity cannot. The key is consistency. Train your mind to shift from activity to reflection and back again throughout the day. Develop the habit of questioning assumptions. The undisciplined mind accepts thoughts without scrutiny. The disciplined mind examines assumptions, testing them against reality and purpose. Make it your practice to ask, is this actually true? What evidence supports this thought? Does accepting this thought serve my purpose? This questioning habit prevents you from building your life on false assumptions that limit your potential. It frees you from unnecessary constraints and expands your sense of possibility. Establish a completion ritual for each day. The undisciplined mind carries the mental residue of the day into the night, often leading to restless sleep and diminished renewal. The disciplined mind creates closure, allowing for true rest and recovery. Before sleep, review the day's accomplishments, release unfinished business until tomorrow, and direct your mind toward gratitude. This completion ritual prevents the accumulation of mental clutter and ensures that each day begins with clarity rather than carryover. These daily habits, morning direction, thinking intervals, assumption questioning, and completion rituals, form the practical infrastructure of mental discipline. They translate principle into practice, making mental discipline not just a concept, but a lived reality. The disciplined mind harnesses the power of visualization. This isn't wishful thinking or idle daydreaming. It's the deliberate use of mental imagery to program your subconscious mind for success. Champions in every field use this technique to achieve extraordinary results. Visualization works because your mind cannot fundamentally distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and an actual experience. When you create detailed mental images of successful outcomes, your mind begins to accept these images as reality. Effective visualization begins with clarity. You must know precisely what you want to achieve. Vague aspirations produce vague results. The disciplined mind creates specific, detailed visions of desired outcomes. See not just the destination, but the path leading to it. When visualizing, engage all your senses. Don't just see success, hear it, feel it, taste it, smell it. The more sensory detail you include, the more real the experience becomes for your mind. This multisensory approach dramatically increases the effectiveness of visualization. For example, if you're preparing for an important presentation, don't just visualize standing at the podium. See the audience responding positively. Hear the applause. Feel the confidence in your posture. Taste the satisfaction of delivering your message effectively. Smell the environment of the venue. This complete sensory experience programs your mind for success. Practice visualization from multiple perspectives. First, see the experience through your own eyes, as if you're living it directly. Then, step outside yourself and observe the experience as if watching a movie of yourself succeeding. This dual perspective creates a more complete mental program. Incorporate progressive visualization. Begin by visualizing the next immediate step toward your goal. As this becomes comfortable, expand your visualization to include larger portions of the journey. This progressive approach prevents overwhelm and builds confidence through incremental success. Remember that visualization isn't a substitute for action, it's preparation for action. The purpose isn't to replace effort with imagination, but to ensure that your efforts are guided by clear mental images of success. Visualization directs your energy towards specific outcomes rather than allowing it to dissipate through uncertainty. Make visualization a daily discipline. Like any mental skill, it improves with consistent practice. Set aside specific times each day to engage in deliberate visualization. These need not be lengthy sessions. Even 5 minutes of focused mental imagery can produce significant results over time. Through clarity, sensory engagement, multiple perspectives, progression and consistency, visualization becomes a powerful tool for mental discipline. It aligns your subconscious mind with your conscious intentions, creating internal harmony that manifests as external success. The disciplined mind never stops growing. It recognizes that learning isn't a phase of life, but a way of life. In a rapidly changing world, the ability to continuously acquire and apply new knowledge is perhaps the most valuable skill you can develop. Mental stagnation is the enemy of purpose. When you stop learning, you stop growing. When you stop growing, you stop fulfilling your potential. The disciplined mind commits to lifelong expansion, continuously pushing beyond the boundaries of current knowledge and capability. The first principle of continuous learning is humility. The moment you believe you have nothing more to learn, your mind closes to new possibilities. Humility keeps your mind open, receptive to insights from unexpected sources. The truly disciplined mind can learn from anyone, anywhere, at any time. Approach each day with the mindset of a student, regardless of your accomplishments or position. Ask questions, listen intently, observe carefully. The world becomes your university when humility guides your interactions. The second principle is systematic study. While informal learning has value, the disciplined mind engages in structured learning with specific objectives. Identify areas critical to your purpose and develop systematic approaches to mastering them. This might include formal education, self-directed study, mentorship relationships, or skill development programs. The key is intentionality. You decide what you need to learn rather than allowing random exposure to determine your knowledge base. The third principle is application. Knowledge without application becomes intellectual clutter. The disciplined mind doesn't learn for the sake of knowing, but for the sake of doing. Each new insight must find expression in concrete action. After every learning experience, ask yourself, how will I apply this? What will I do differently because of what I've learned? This application focus transforms learning from passive consumption to active creation. The fourth principle is teaching. The disciplined mind solidifies learning through sharing. When you teach what you've learned, you discover gaps in your understanding, reinforce key concepts, and develop deeper mastery. Find opportunities to share your knowledge with others. This sharing needn't be formal. It might be a conversation with a friend, guidance offered to a colleague, or insights shared with your family. The act of articulating what you've learned to others accelerates your own mastery. The fifth principle is reflection. The disciplined mind regularly reviews what it has learned, extracting deeper meaning and identifying patterns. This reflection transforms information into wisdom, the ability to apply knowledge with discernment. Schedule regular times to reflect on your learning. Consider keeping a learning journal where you record insights, questions, and applications. This reflective practice prevents learning from becoming merely accumulative and ensures that it becomes transformative. The first step in managing negative influences is identification. Become aware of what diminishes your mental energy, clouds your clarity, or pulls your thoughts toward limitation rather than possibility. Pay attention to how you feel after various interactions and exposures. Your emotional response often reveals negative influences before your conscious mind recognizes them. Once identified, negative influences require boundaries. The disciplined mind isn't harsh or judgmental toward others, but it is protective of its own mental environment. Establish clear limits on what you will allow to access your thought life. For some influences, this might mean complete elimination. Certain relationships, information sources, or environments are so consistently negative that the only wise response is distance. This isn't retreat. It's strategic protection of your mental resources. For other influences, moderation may be sufficient. Limit exposure to news media that emphasizes problems without solutions. Restrict time spent with people whose outlook consistently drags your thinking downward. Moderate consumption of entertainment that darkens rather than enlightens your perspective. When negative influences cannot be avoided, as in certain work situations or family relationships, develop mental filters. Before engaging, mentally establish what you will and won't absorb from the interaction. After exposure, deliberately release negative residue rather than allowing it to linger in your thoughts. The ultimate aim of mental discipline is purposeful thinking, directing your mental energy toward what matters most. The undisciplined mind thinks randomly, reactively, without clear intention. The disciplined mind thinks deliberately, strategically, with focused purpose. Purposeful thinking begins with a clear understanding of your life's mission. Without this clarity, your thoughts lack direction. They scatter across countless concerns without meaningful progress in any area. The disciplined mind anchors its thinking to a well-dynamic purpose. Take time to clarify your purpose. What were you created to contribute? What problems are you uniquely equipped to solve? What legacy do you want to leave? These questions aren't philosophical abstractions, but practical foundations for purposeful thinking. Once purpose is clear, develop thinking routines aligned with that purpose. The disciplined mind doesn't wait for inspiration. It creates designated times for specific types of thinking essential to fulfilling its mission. Set aside regular periods for strategic thinking, considering the big picture of your purpose and planning major moves toward its fulfillment. Schedule times for creative thinking, generating new approaches and solutions related to your purpose. Establish routines for evaluative thinking, assessing progress and adjusting actions based on results. These thinking routines prevent the common pattern of continual activity without reflective thought. They ensure that your actions arise from deliberate consideration rather than habitual response. Purposeful thinking requires questions that direct your mental energy productively. The quality of your thinking depends largely on the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Develop a personal set of questions that guide your mind toward your purpose. Questions like, what's the highest and best use of my time right now? How does this decision align with my ultimate purpose? What approach would make the greatest contribution to my mission? These purposeful questions prevent your mind from wandering down unproductive paths. Remember that purposeful thinking isn't always serious thinking. Joy, humor, and play have essential roles in a healthy thought life. The disciplined mind knows when to be analytical and when to be playful, when to focus narrowly and when to explore broadly. This balance prevents burnout and maintains mental freshness. Schedule time for pure enjoyment, for exploration without specific objectives, for rest without productive purpose. These seemingly purposeless periods actually serve a vital purpose in maintaining overall mental health. Ultimately, purposeful thinking means that your thoughts serve your purpose rather than distracting from it. Each day, assess whether your thinking has moved you toward your mission or away from it. This honest evaluation becomes the compass that keeps your mind oriented toward what matters most. Through mission clarity, thinking routines, directive questions, balanced approach, and regular evaluation, your thinking becomes increasingly purposeful. This purposefulness doesn't constrain creativity but channels it, doesn't limit joy but deepens it, doesn't restrict freedom but directs it toward meaningful accomplishment. Disciplining your mind is not an event but a journey. It doesn't happen in a moment of inspiration, but through consistent practice over time. The journey has distinct phases, each with its own challenges and rewards. Understanding these phases helps you maintain perspective when progress seems slow. The first phase is awareness. You begin to recognize the undisciplined patterns that have shaped your thinking. This awareness can be uncomfortable, even painful, as you confront habits of thought that have limited your potential. Don't rush through this phase. Full awareness must precede lasting change. The second phase is disruption. You actively interrupt established thought patterns, creating space for new ways of thinking. This disruption often feels awkward and unnatural. Your mind resists, attempting to return to familiar patterns. Persistence through this resistance is essential for progress. The third phase is establishment. You develop new thought disciplines, practicing them consistently until they begin to feel natural. This establishment phase requires patience. New neural pathways form gradually through repetition. What initially requires conscious effort eventually becomes second nature. The fourth phase is integration. The disciplines you've established begin to work together, creating a cohesive approach to thinking. This integration produces a sense of mental harmony. Your thoughts align with your purpose without constant conscious direction. The fifth phase is expansion. From the foundation of established discipline, your mind begins to explore new possibilities, new approaches, new horizons. This expansion isn't a return to undisciplined thinking, but the fruit of discipline, the freedom that comes through mastery. Throughout this journey, progress isn't always visible day by day. Mental transformation often follows what appears to be a plateau pattern, periods of apparent stagnation followed by significant breakthroughs. These plateaus aren't failures, but necessary consolidation phases, preparing you for the next level of growth. The key to continuous progress is consistency, regardless of immediate results. The disciplined mind practices its disciplines even when benefits aren't immediately evident. It trusts the process, knowing that mental patterns established over years require time to transform. Remember that the journey never truly ends. Mental discipline isn't a destination but a path of ongoing growth. Even the most disciplined minds continue to discover new areas for development, new heights of potential, new dimensions of purpose. This continuing journey isn't a burden but a privilege. It means that growth never stops, that potential never exhausts, that purpose continues to unfold throughout life. The disciplined mind embraces this ongoing transformation, finding joy in the process itself rather than merely in its outcomes. As you leave today, understand that the journey of mental discipline begins with a single decision, the decision to take responsibility for your thought life. No one can make this decision for you. No one can walk this path for you. The choice is yours alone. I challenge you to make that choice now. Decide today that you will no longer allow your mind to drift aimlessly. Decide that you will direct your thoughts rather than being directed by them. Decide that mental discipline will become your highest priority and most consistent practice. This decision will cost you comfort, require persistence, demand courage. But the alternative costs infinitely more. A life of unrealized potential, unfulfilled purpose, and the haunting question of what might have been. The choice is clear. The time is now. You have to discipline your mind. Your destiny depends on it.